NRI Wellness. We bring you the latest in health and nutrition information, create customized nutrition programs, and walk you through the process to ensure your success. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. And welcome to the 10 Dimensions of Wellness. I am your host, the owner of NRI Wellness, Cami Red, and we have another dynamic guest on our show today. I'm going to let her introduce herself because there is just every time we have one of these lovely women on, there's an immense amount of information that they're going to provide for us. So we have Lynnette Phillips on, and Lynnette, thank you first for being on our show, but tell our audience who you are, what your message is, and what it is that you provide the world.
Absolutely. Well, first off, Cami, thank you so much for having me here. I have enjoyed just the process of getting to our time together and having some wonderful conversation with you off, the record. So I
Yes.
really, really appreciate this opportunity to spend some time with you and your audience. So, who is Lynnette Phillips, right? I think that's such a quintessential question, and we're all asking ourselves a little bit that as we pivot or reinvent ourselves or take on new roles this year. But I think most recently, probably the most exciting thing in my life is that I have walked away from the corporate world and from a dream company, a company that so many people love, love, love to work for, and that's the Walt Disney Company. So I am a former Disney World cast member. I transitioned, I took a 6-month internship opportunity on the college program there and transitioned it into a 17-year career, and it was wonderful.
Wait a minute. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you worked in what's known as the happiest place on earth.
Yes, yes, the happiest place on earth, and it really truly is. It's such a place where I think on the surface it's like, oh, it's a vacation spot, but really it's such a place of healing.
I was going to say it's beyond just vacation, because vacation is something that you go and you're there for a couple of days and you're good. But when you go to Disney, you actually have to spend time in Disney. And there are different dynamics to Disney now. You have the animal park, you have all of these different areas of just learning. And that's really what it is. Like even with Epcot, it's more about teaching different things to different people and having an understanding of the world almost.
Yes, that's probably the part that I enjoy. My son, his favorite is Animal Kingdom. My daughter, Magic Kingdom. My husband's favorite Animal Kingdom as well. And I'm super grateful. I actually, left on such great terms. But it was interesting because most people said we were waiting. We knew that you would, move on your purpose journey just over the course of things throughout the years, and just the skill sets that I applied and a lot of coaching internally. Being a sought out internal speaker, I would often speak on behalf of the company at times, to master students who are coming to visit a lot of our youth education series programs. And just over the years, and the COVID situation in and of itself really presented the door when Walt Disney World closed, right? That just doesn't happen in life.
Yeah, that has never happened, and I'm 40 years old, so this is the first time in my lifetime that has actually happened.
I'm telling you, because we ride out hurricanes here. This is the safe haven. I was 8 months pregnant the last hurricane. We were riding out in a hotel, rain boots on and everything, 8 months pregnant, taking care of folks and doing some things. But that's a huge part of what has developed me, I think, as a woman and as a leader, as just a businesswoman. But over the last couple of months, I have really, really taken the opportunity to explore more of who I am at my core, what drives my decision making, And so I made the decision to, pursue entrepreneurship. Outside of work that I do or purposeful work as a coach, a consultant, and a speaker, is I'm a wife and a mom. Those are two of my, it's not even like seeing it as a role, but those are two of the greatest blessings that I have, which is to have a partner, and my husband, and who is an educator. So much love to all of those out there making it work and figuring it out for us right
Yes.
now.
Oh girl, I have a 13-year-old in virtual school. My 4-year-old, I keep saying he's 3, but he's 4. He actually just went back to preschool. So this has been interesting enough to say the least. So to have that support and have, a mate that's there to assist you and guide or help you along the way and take some of the pressure off of you as a mom, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was funny because when we, I think for us, we all, I guess the country as a whole, we went down to that lockdown like in March, and it was happened to be our spring break time. So we were already planning to have some time being home, but all of a sudden we pivoted to that online learning. It was like, we're not coming back after spring break. Like you're gonna have to figure it out. They had a date, but then it kept getting extended. It was like the rest of the school year. And I remember him sitting me down and he said, so guess what? Your role is the principal of the school. Like you're in administration. I'll take care of like all the teacher stuff with our son. And even now he's been really getting into a lot of the pedagogy with me, and because I am home more now. I picked up a small part-time role that just fills my heart too. It's with a publishing company here in Orlando, but it's like 3 days a week. So I'm home in the home more. This is just like a whole new world of reinvention I've never even, experienced. So I get to run my business, and also the owner of the business I support, the publishing company. She's been willing to like pour into me and teach me so much about running a business. It's like a paid internship. That's the best way to say it. Is and like that's how my
That's a
business career
blessing.
started.
That is a true blessing, girl. Because to find somebody who has been in business, who doesn't mind pouring and giving that information, that's something we all desire.
Yeah, because there's so much to learn and to do, and just to get into the processes and systems of it. But dealing with client leads, like so, I'm probably that's another way to describe me at who I am, a constant learner. And I think life is, or the world is our greatest classroom. So we're all can stop and breathe, and even in the situations, what do we learn about ourselves? What do we learn about our spouses? What do we learn about our children? Like seeing how my son is as a student and like really seeing it. I used to volunteer in the classroom for his third grade year, and I would be there every Friday, but I would be there for like 2 hours. I would do the little thing called a treasure box and reward the kids for the week and do some other stuff. But on Mondays and Fridays when I'm home, it's really getting to see his engagement, how what challenges present him, how does he recover when he is frustrated, and not just even with technology, but learning the content and doing certain things. And so I am constantly using those as things to fulfill my need to learn and grow, of like, okay, we're all figuring this out. We've never all done this before. So definitely a constant learner. I grew up with a military family, so adaptability is just part of my DNA at this
Oh
point. You
yeah,
have to,
you had to learn how to pivot and just keep moving.
yeah, just different. Yeah, how do you adapt to a deployment? Like my father had to miss my high school graduation, and there was just no way around it because he had a deployment overseas, and it became it's his job, and so I had to maneuver through the feelings of it. And we didn't have all the amazing technology that we have now. I had got a phone call from like a DSN number the day of my graduation, and I was so grateful for just that, to hear his voice and hear his encouragement. I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska for a good portion of that military career. So
Ooh, girl.
that's where I
Wait
live.
a minute. You went from Anchorage, Alaska to Orlando, Florida. That's like total opposites in climate
Yeah,
and everything.
talked about him. So this is actually my second, almost like military, right? Tour of duty in Florida. So I left Alaska when I graduated high school, and I went to Tallahassee, and I went to Florida State. So go knows. But man, it was a large school, 35,000 kids in the school, and I had way too much fun. You're young and you're deciding, am I going to class? Am I not going to class? And I was paying that out-of-state tuition, and my dad was like, you want to keep having fun or you want to get serious about school? So I ended up moving to North Dakota for a couple of years.
Wait a minute, stop.
No,
You lived
no, I am no stranger to cold weather, because I don't know if people believe me on this, but North Dakota is colder than Alaska.
I was
Okay.
getting ready to ask that because I'd heard that before as well. Now, North Dakota really is colder than Alaska. That has been verified. We have gotten that. Lynnette let us know she has lived in both places, you guys. Okay. Oh my God. How did you cope in North Dakota?
It was very interesting. The program though that I originally started out of like, oh, I'm going to study athletic training, was one of the top in the nation. So I was like, okay, I'm grateful for that. Of course, having your family there and their support, but it was, unique being a woman of color, and the student body population of students of color was 0.01%. And to put that into context, right, 0.01% of 11,000 students meant there was like 10 of us, 11 of us. Like,
Right.
you would
That's
go
what I
on
was gonna say.
campus and you would be like, hey, and most
Yeah.
were international students that were traveling. We have a very strong aviation program at that school. And interestingly enough, like, I got involved on campus. We did have a small, Black Student Association, and I
It's
led
like, it
that.
was like
And
what, 20 of you guys.
yeah, it was a very small population, so you had to create community,
Yeah.
and get involved with the community, that was there. So I knew though that I always wanted to come back to Florida, and I had the wonderful opportunity way back in the day, again 17 years ago. They actually actively came and recruited at your school, and usually in certain areas. So my school was like the main one for North Dakota. Other students had to travel there, and I interviewed. It was like an interesting interview because it was me and another student and the recruiter. So if anybody's ever sat in an interview like that, like, it's funny when sometimes you go first, because a lot of times they say right after, you're like, yeah, what she said, and you're like, no, this is your chance for you to shine. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is an interesting interview. But I was super grateful when I got that letter that told me, hey, we want to have you come down to Orlando. And I had never been to Disney World before, had never experienced it as a guest. But I've come from a hospitality like family who's had restaurants and other stuff like my grandmother did. So I got down there and I just fell in love with it. There was something about it. It is magical. And I knew. And so I took the opportunity, and I told the current intern that was there at the time, I want your job next semester. I didn't even introduce myself. And they was like, who are you? And that kind of opened the door though to say, if you really want it, this is what it's going to take. And I got groomed. Like, one of the first things that person did was said, I'm not going to talk to any of your angry guests. Like, you're going to have to figure it out on your own, because that's what management, like here it's about leading the best guest experience in the world, pretty much. You're going to
Yeah.
have to learn how to be able to do that. And
Through an angry guest. Yeah.
yeah, because you have to turn that around. When somebody shows up in your business angry, it's an emotional reaction. It's something else underneath the surface that's there. They
Yeah.
don't care about your broken process. They don't need to know. I
They
would
don't
say
care about none of that. Yep.
yeah, they should never even be privileged to your process. The moment someone starts saying, well, because we're short staff and we don't have, no. So you typically, needed to just be able to connect with people on a human level and just say, I value the fact that you've chosen us for your vacation, which is a special moment for you. What can I do to help you?
Yeah. Working in customer service, before I got into my career, I worked for Bell South doing telecommunications customer service. And you learn to just listen to what people are saying, listen to what the root of the issue is, not to quote policy, because policy just sounds like an excuse to them, and to try to come to them from a different perspective. Now, Lynnette, tell us how you started to walk in your purpose and what it is that you are doing now that you are excited to express to everyone about.
Yes. So, gosh, it's been several years in the making. So I went to Regent University about 4 years ago, almost five. And the catalyst for that was my mom had battled ovarian cancer that had metastasized. And unfortunately, from a faith perspective, I say she conquered the battle, but she did pass.
I'm
And,
sorry to hear
you know,
that.
at the age of 55, and it really resonated that there's a lot on the table, that she gave her life. She lived for her kids, for her husband, but I know that there were some goals and things that she really wanted to do. So, within 8 months of her passing, I found myself in a graduate program and said, I'm going back to school for organizational leadership and executive coaching. Like, I believe in healthy organizations and corporations. I believe in healthy individuals. And by healthy, it's like the total complex. I think that sometimes we look at success or we look at accomplishment, but if your home life isn't, in a healthy state where you can have great communication and some of the same things in your workplace, it can become pretty challenging. So I went and got formal education in the coaching realm. I had still been doing speaking, whether it was, personal events outside of work or speaking on behalf of the organization at times. And it just really, really took off in November of 2019 when I flew out to San Diego. I was actually invited out to San Diego by a sorority sister of mine who was just moving back to the US from Denmark. And she said, hey, I know you've been doing coaching. I have experienced this program that I'm now certified in. It's helped me, just kind of get clarity of purpose and my values. And so I said, well, I'll take a birthday trip out to San Diego. I want to see you. But it was the greatest moment of clarity that I have experienced. And I literally came home and just told my husband, like, man, this was just a powerful weekend. Like,
Wow.
I know, I literally came back from that weekend and said 2020 will be the year of the pivot. I promise you, I ain't know what
You
COVID
didn't
was,
know
none of
what
that.
the universe had in store for us. You
And
didn't
so,
know
yeah,
anything.
I just said, I know 2020 is the year of the pivot for me. So I started to think, oh, it's probably just a career pivot. And I started having some conversations around how do I get into coaching within the organization. I knew we had some different things within Disney that we did. So I started to get doors opening up. I started to meet executives in that area. So I was thinking, that's my pivot. That's what's going to happen. But in all actuality, I mean, it was a true, total, career shift. But COVID happened, and once I worked for about 6 or 7 weeks after our closure, and was one of the cast members that were furloughed. And that was probably one of the biggest blessings that really pushed me into that purpose, and just said, now that that's not necessarily an option, right, for you, because you're on furlough along with the tens of thousands of other people. It's nothing personal. It's not like it's just you. This is the business. I, talked to two other business partners. I had already begun the certification process in the program I had experienced called the Limbic Performance System, and I'm going to share a lot more about that later. I went ahead and I went on sunbiz.org in Florida, and I said, I'm registering the business. Like, I started to really go back and look and reflect on, said, what was my 2020 supposed to be? And it did involve, registering the business and doing some of those things. It just got accelerated as a result of my furlough. So that time really quieted the space for me. We were able to pull off an online summit called the Fulfilled Mom Movement. So I helped co-found that with my other two business partners in the Limbic Performance System business. And it's just been rolling and moving, since I kind of let that gun go off in the starting blocks, and it's like running a race, and I just let it go off.
The same concept of lean in, jump, leap, take that first step of just getting out there and doing it, and then just moving forward from there. You were ready to pivot in 2020, but the COVID made you do it faster.
Oh, absolutely, because I really felt like, okay, well, I'm going to see where it's going to get me with the Disney aspect. And then, and it was always like, at some point in time, I'll register the business and be able to take, private clients. It was really about, I'm going to serve within my current organization. But there was another plan, when it came to that. And so I like you said, it becomes like you lean in and you take that leap and you move forward to the point where you're going to have your days where you think, oh my gosh, am I actually doing this? Or
Yeah.
because there's so much to learn and grow and develop in and do. So it kind of launching the business filled my need of who I am at the core, that constant learner. I now have more time in the home. It wasn't an easy, weighty decision to decide to resign from my job that I had for 17 years that has defined me for a lot, but the pull to serve others in the capacity in which I really, really desired to, that's really was like one of the decision makers from that standpoint, which is I know that I have been trained in a wonderful system, and I know that I know that I have applied it to myself even, and it has helped me produce a lot of the results that I want for others as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
If you want to be seen, you have to stop being invisible to opportunity. I'm Kay Henry, licensed mental health counselor and host of Black Therapy Uncensored. Your prescription of positivity starts here.
So, Lynnette, tell me some of the common myths that you hear in your industry and dispel some of those things for us.
Definitely, probably the most common myth is, are you therapy, versus coaching? Because you do ask discovery questions and you're spending time, trying to intimately discover what do I need to do to get results and to move a person in the right direction. So that may mean something triggers and something happens that was like, well, this was a defining moment in my life, but we really are separate. Now, there are a lot of licensed mental health practitioners who are also certified in coaching and can provide both of those services. But I think that they have done, many in the industry that I have met, have done a great job differentiating their services for clients to say, if I'm serving you in this capacity, then this is what I do. As a mental health professional, I'm working with you on a diagnosis and a treatment plan and understanding the recovery, potentially talk about trauma. As a coach, I like to use a lot of sports analogies because we love sports in our house. As a coach, I'm here to help you develop a playbook to build that championship, to get the desired results that you're looking for in a certain area, and the progression through helping you discover how you plan to get there and how do you customize that, and understanding that what are your strengths, what are the areas, because a lot of times I find in coaching, there's benefit to highlighting what you're doing really, really well, because we can spin our wheels on what we're not doing. So a lot of times I think in coaching, like that differentiation of that myth is that it's like therapy and I'm supposed to approach it and I'm supposed to get in a session and engage almost in that same process, especially if you have not necessarily gone. So, I mean, I have had, as my formal education, we've talked through case studies where you might have to pause the coaching process to go to therapy, or you can do them simultaneously. But so they can work in tandem together. You could find through the therapy process that you need coaching in certain areas, and vice versa. But the biggest myth is that coaching is a form of therapy, and it really is not.
I think people do get those twisted a lot. I think in general, when what they don't understand is coaching helps you with the present moment. Therapy actually helps you get through the root work and the issues that are actually underlying, that are triggering you, that are preventing you from doing things in the present moment. So I think that's something that people forget often. Now, tell us, what are some of the biggest challenges that you are actually faced with some of your clients, and how do you overcome some of those things?
Well, right now it is the pivot to the virtual world. So a lot of former organizations, so if there happen to be HR professionals or others in organizational development, we do, myself and my partners consult in the sense of, typically it would be like in-person training, bringing your teams together, that retreat type feel to do a lot of the work, because our program is built on neurological science, clarity of purpose, values. You go through an assessment. So we are redesigning the program to be able to work in the virtual world. And we've seen it kick off with a group coaching program that we currently have now. And some of our partners, even over in Europe, have been able to do some with some corporations. So I think just like everybody else, like, how do I be able to perform with the same impact, knowing that typically it's a lot of in person. And I think right now it's more or less, so many people are faced with so many new decisions. So as a coach, we can look at a gamut of things. If it's related to, are you working for wellness? Are you looking for fit, some of your mental clarity? Are you, working kind of in some of your different energies? But what if you're overwhelmed right now and you're trying to tackle it all? Right? That's probably one of the biggest things right now with a client, which is like, I don't know what I don't know about what I want to do.
I think that's where a lot of people are right now, because I think I posted something on Facebook recently that said we're all just in a state of confusion and uncertainty. So I think that's where everybody's mindset is. We're confused about what's going on around us and uncertain about what all of our futures are. So
absolutely. And so, as I work with clients and that elicitation of values, like if you were to go to a person right now and say, hey, do you think you can tell me your top 3 to 4 core values? You could probably get there, but you still got to do some digging. And so there's an exercise that I do, and through a series of questions and prioritization, and it gets intense, because you're like, you got to pick this over this. Which one is it? And so for me, I know that it's joy, kindness, freedom, compassion, right? As my top 4. And so it guides my decision making. So when I, was making the decision to resign from my job, I knew what freedoms would come along with this decision. And for me, joy does not always mean happy, because happy could be a fleeting emotion of like, this food made me happy.
Yes.
In this moment, but joy comes with a peace for me. Somebody else might define joy very differently. So just the ability to work with a client and them to have that anchor as like their roots of their program, it gives that clarity to say, well, now we can kind of maybe work in the direction. And we also, we have an assessment. I do an assessment with you that really scales. And then it says, now, based on these models, where we want to put the energy and the effort. So just kind of having that platform a lot, because right now it's like, I want to be the master, was it jack of all trades, master of none? Whereas give yourself the small wins.
I totally get that. So describe the process behind your coaching services.
Absolutely. So my primary services are based in the limbic performance system. And if people are like, I've never even heard of this, that is okay. That's okay. That's an actual formal.
Yes, I was going to say, tell everybody what that limbic performance system really is. Yeah. Break that down for all of us so we get a full understanding of what that is. Then we'll talk about the process behind your services.
Yes. So the limbic system, if anybody wants to go on Google, you'll actually find everything really neuroscience-based, NIH articles. It is backed science, so I didn't, and I have been trained by the founder of this program. But the limbic system is our midbrain. It's our emotional epicenter. It is, understanding our amygdala, which we call the security guard. He's constantly scanning, looking for dangers. But it's our emotional epicenter, our regulatory epicenter. And so from there, how do you create that relationship between your limbic system, your midbrain, and your actual frontal lobe, your neocortex, your rational brain? Because like you said, you coach clients to not make a decision in that emotional state, but you have to learn how to master that part,
your emotions.
To name the emotions, be able to understand where they come from. Because again, if somebody violates your values or steps on your values, but you don't even know the word to your values, this is why you get a response and a behavior that you don't even realize. So really walking through the understanding, that's the basis. It's like, before you even get into what you feel like you want to facilitate change and create some actions on, let's give you some information. So that's part of the coaching process, is to engage you and educate you on your limbic system, on how the heart is also another, another brain. It encodes memories as well. It elicits responses, so that you can see your whole system and understand the different energies that come with it. Our emotional energy is chemical energy. Our actions that we do is kinetic energy, that comes out. And so being able to just have that, basis in our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, and where they come from, giving you really truly the where. Why do you show up sometimes the way that you do? And then guide you through. We have so many different modules that I can customize an entire program for a client, really based on the trajectory of what they're trying to do. If you really are doing a career move, there's certain things about true clarity of purpose that's key for you. If you are looking to do kind of a wellness program, there's things about your your actual energies, on physical energies and your core human needs, down to how do we get you to drink the right amount of water, make the healthier choices. Because your brain, you can look at the food, you can look at a piece of chocolate cake, and you can look at the salad, your brain's gonna win. And often it's that chocolate cake. Well, why?
I'm not even trying to be funny, but as a nutritionist, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking to myself, man, I think I might need to, take this program myself, because I one of the things that I deal with a lot is emotional eating in my clients. So I'm not a therapist. I am a life coach, but delving a little bit deeper into that emotional aspect of their brain would give me a little bit more insight into how to help them more. You and I are going to talk after the show.
I got you.
Yeah, but no, go ahead and finish telling, because now you got me like tuned in, like, oh my God, this is beneficial for me. So yes, please finish telling us about this.
I'll give you an example of how it applies. And so mine dealt with water intake, and about not the appropriate amount of water intake. And so once I really had the honest conversation with myself, because it was on my scale, it was part of the assessment, I saw my honest results to myself. Now I have a choice. And so it was, can you do things like once a day, if presented with the sweet tea versus the water, can you give up your sweet tea for the water once a day, right? So I made gradual changes to the point where my body now prefers the taste of water.
Okay, so see, now that you're talking, you're doing that. That's actually the basis of my program. Is I meet my clients where they are, and I try to, we make small substitutions and small steps to work your way to bigger goals. So I'm okay. I'm definitely interested in this program now.
Yeah, our brain can't take all that change at one time. So when we go back to how people are feeling in COVID right now, our world as we operated, our social systems, how we interacted with even our family. If we had to get away from Sunday dinners, all of a sudden, we're now reprogramming our brain. But what we do know, when it does come to change, the brain is built on its neuroplasticity, its ability to rewire those neurons, but it takes new experiences, and it takes your body to respond in the way that you are looking for it to kind of create that again, because now I need to have a different response to it. You know how somebody says, okay, I'll jump out of a plane, I don't ever have to do that again because of what that response is. But then some people are like, when's the next time? When do I go again?
It's an adrenaline. It's either going to be a negative experience or it's going to be an adrenaline rush for you. So either way, it's going to cause a reaction in your brain that is almost like a stress or a chemical release. So it's going to be one that's going to be your flight or fight syndrome, or it's going to be one that says, let's do this again.
So how does that body, how do you then make those decisions from like your rational part of your brain to kind of connect those? I think I share another story a lot of times is about how I used to be like, I had never even eaten a chickpea before. I was like, I don't eat chickpeas. I just don't. And it was just like, it was my belief was that I wasn't even going to like them. It was a belief. And so I had no prior experience, but I allowed myself to tell myself enough times that I don't eat chickpeas. I mean, to the point where I offended a colleague one time. He had made like something fresh. I was like, no, I don't even eat chickpeas. Like, please don't offer them to me. And it was either like a hummus that was offered to me, but it had Kalamata olives or something like that, but it had chicken. And I was like, oh, okay, that's good. To the point now where I like have an air fryer chickpea recipe that I love. And I know that food and water are like a lot of the examples, but I think about how I have been able to use the same system when I came home
Yeah.
from work, and I told my husband, hey, I'm going to resign from my job. And he looked at me, he goes, you know that you make more than I do, right? Like, I want you to know that.
He like, you sure about this for our household?
Right. But in the certification process, this is how much of a setup and purposeful this whole transition has been for me. Normally, I would be flying back and forth out to California and doing things. Well, the COVID happened. The facilitator, the founder of the program, could not come from the UK, so I had to use my husband as a client basically and record our sessions. And he was like, I normally wouldn't even like recommend it, but y'all as a married couple are like a dynamic duo. So my husband's follow-up question to me was, well, what does support look like for you to make this decision? And I thought, well, one, that's a sexy question to ask, right? Because
Ain't that, all right. Look, let me give your husband a hand clap for that question, okay?
Because he has gone through the process of understanding at the core, right, that clearly this is based on one of your values, right? And you believe that this is the right decision for you. So when he started to ask, well, what does support look like? It then meant that ultimately how we would behave once we made the decision. Never once has he been like, see, I told you never to quit that job. Even, he helped me design my website. It became this opportunity for us to grow in this decision together, because we understood that it wasn't all just emotionally based, but we understood where the feelings were around it and why this was an important decision.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So now what we're going to do is, let me ask you this. Tell us just a little bit more about this program, and then we're going to move into how people can actually, what services people can actually book through you. So tell us just a little bit more about some of the issues that can be solved with utilizing your coaching program. So like touch on some of the things that every day. For right now, we're sitting in the midst of COVID, okay? What are some things that you definitely can help some people out with right now in their lives?
Definitely. So it's a 17 scale model. So if it starts at the core human needs, and there's areas around that, and by core human needs, you're talking about eat, sleep, just your general basic needs. That's a part of the assessment that you're going to be on your scale. And it really divides leadership of self and leader in relationship to others. So within the scale, there's trust, inspirability. I know that's a word that we made up, but for leaders, it's really important.
That
right?
is,
I was going to say,
you may have made up that word, but I understand exactly what that means. So that actually makes sense to people who are in that leadership realm.
Yeah, we're going to add in another word relative to the program called motivation, right? So combining the motivation with the action, all the way to altruism, which is really that you get to a sense of care for others before yourself. So those are examples of specific areas that we can begin to then delve into a little bit deeper. The two main things that I would always want someone to walk away from is the clarity of purpose, as they really begin to look at that intersection of their clarity of purpose and be able to elicit their values and have clear values. Hands down, that's kind of one of the basis of the foundation. You're going to understand the neuroscience behind it to get to lasting change. So I always like to call it really like New Year's solutions rather than New Year's resolutions. We all know what it's like the beginning of the year, and we're like, we're going to journal more, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But then things get in the way. Well, how do you go back to the process? I want people to learn how to take this with them to the point that their actions, somebody looks at them that's been around them and says, I know something has changed about you. whether it's your ability to have more empathy towards another person, or you're a little bit more consistent in certain areas, and then they're able to articulate how they even got those results as well.
This is a 2-second nutrition tip. Today's tip is give up soft drinks and opt for a healthier beverage option like herbal teas with a natural sweetener or even raw juices. At least try it one day a week. Let me know how it goes. This has been a 2-second nutrition tip.
NRI Wellness brings you the latest health and nutrition information, creates customized nutrition programs, and walks you through the process to ensure your success.
All right, so we've heard about all of these wonderful things that we can benefit from. You tell us, what are some of your programs that you offer, your workshops, your classes, your individual one-on-one sessions, and what does that look like typically for a potential client?
Okay. Well, right now, yes, I am taking one-to-one clients. Typically, again, very customized program. We can start with just the assessment and a 1-hour coaching to lead into let me build a program for you. Typically can range anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks because it is coupled with an online platform. So that way we can really delve into coaching sessions. All of those learnings are part of the online platform. So it's really, really nice that the client can self-pace themselves through the learnings. It's like 20, 30-minute videos, but it's a holistic program. There are specific meditations and even hypnosis sessions that are online there for you as well for the limbic performance system. So that's kind of, again, a lot of customization. It's not like I have, a magic wand, using my Disney example, right? Or just sprinkle some pixie dust on it and say, you have to follow this. It really becomes, let's just get you through the assessment process and understand how to best serve you. So that's for an individual. That's one-to-one coaching right now. Through the Fulfilled Mom movement, I kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier, but the Fulfilled Mom movement is just probably, it's like our dream opportunity where we focus on, every mom, whether if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a CEO, you run a operation, you run a
Girl,
major
everybody is a stay-at-home mom right now. Okay.
So, on the Fulfilled Mom movement, we're actually doing a group coaching program, which has just been really a blessing to us as the facilitators. So they are working in buddy pairs, and it's like every 2 weeks we come together for live coaching calls. So again, not a regurgitation of the content, but it is certainly an opportunity to reinforce the learnings and to really dig in, and we do it in a group setting, so the accountability is that much higher as we work through, some of those results from that standpoint. So really working with those ladies on like everything in those 4 energies and, really already seeing some of the benefits already 3 weeks in. So of course, if there was someone interested in wanting to do the group coaching program, I would just take them on a wait list to see when we will be next offering that, because we are 3 weeks into that 12-week program. That is a 12-week program. So, but very much have enjoyed doing that. For consultations, we are specifically, able to tailor a program for like a leadership team with organizations. So again, I specifically say for our HR professionals out there, those who have to be thinking about what is their priority right now. I think about organizations right now, they have to deal with all the things happening with social justice, people fear of losing their jobs. Will we be profitable? Do we need to redesign as an organization? So imagine all of those emotions behind every one of those decisions. So if your organization at the core can remember their core values to drive their business, and you have leaders that can build high levels of trust and inspirability, back to that word, we can develop those leaders within that, in a variety of programs using the online platform and learnings coupled with the buddy pair system and online facilitation as well. So we have done that with organizations. So anyone can reach out to me and we can craft, a proposal from that standpoint as well. There's a couple of free trainings out there on our YouTube channel for the Fulfilled Mom movement. So if someone's just interested in watching the video and getting the introduction and learning a little bit about that brain science, there's already some free content that we have out there from our summit.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, at the end of the show, I'll let you give everybody your YouTube page or, even just where to find. Can they go to your website to find how to link to that YouTube page as well? Or is it just directly on YouTube?
It's directly on YouTube. If you
Okay, so
YouTube the Fulfilled Mom Movement, we'll make sure everybody gets
I
that.
was going to say, we'll make sure that everybody gets that information. I'll also, you send me the link to that video. And what I'll do is I'll post that video in the 10 Dimensions of Wellness group so that people know exactly where to find it and how to get to it online once they listen to this show.
Thank you so much.
No, girl, yes. Okay, so let me ask you this. Tell me about a client that actually touched your heart and actually changed the way you approach your practice now.
Oh my gosh. I think I'm actually going to talk about the journey of me and my mentee, because my mentee came with me to the live retreat session
Okay.
in November, right? So before I was even necessarily the client, because now as a mentor, it's the basis of our mentee mentor relationship. She's learned the same information. So, she was able to transition her career. She too was working in hospitality, has launched her own nonprofit. This is a young lady, I think just turning 26.
All right, let me give her a small round of applause for that. Okay, yeah.
But more importantly, I think has increased the power of the self-belief within herself. She was already a powerhouse. I had already seen it in her. Others had seen it in her. It was definitely there from educational accolades and other leadership accolades. But to see it into action and be able to, we were just working through what her master's program project would look like. And it kind of shifted in directions and said, how do we tie it to all this work you're putting into your nonprofit? How do we sell that, from that standpoint? Because that's a huge investment with your heart and it's your passion. So for me, while, I would say it's probably one of the most valuable relationships because she's my mentee. So she kind of gets the complimentary coaching part of it. It's really great to have a basis and a language that we speak, and it's not just me spewing information and saying, I need you to do it this way. I can ask her tough questions about what drives her to make that decision and what, how does that create the opportunity to align with her values, and just to see that blossom within 9 months in the midst of a pandemic, like it takes my breath away to see the belief she has in herself, that she's been given skills and abilities and she knows her strengths and she plays to them.
That's really cool. Now I have another question along the same lines, but this is a little bit different. What is something that your program did for one of your clients or someone else that you really didn't expect it to do?
I think because the assessment is done by you, and you're like, there's no algorithm with it.
Yeah.
This is you giving yourself feedback. And sometimes it's like, I thought I viewed myself as this, or man, I didn't realize that I viewed myself as that on the scale, right? And then also guiding people in there to say, because all the behavior is the same. People often go in there and say, well, what do I need to work on first? And so I challenge them to say, did you even look at where you scale on the higher end? So I would say that's always a surprise to me when it's like not led, like, or someone is led to like say, where's my strength lie? So definitely just that overall assessment, because it's like a 30-page report. It's robust.
Girl, that's a lot of information. So
The
assessment is 30 pages by itself. So that is deep. That is deep work. Okay. So, okay. What is something that people often misunderstand about what it is that you guys do, especially coming from the standpoint of working with trying to get people to reconnect with their emotional brain, so to speak?
I think it's, we do introduce words like mindfulness and other stuff, but I think it can get the wrong reputation because it can come across as like, so not necessarily kumbaya, but this like euphoric state of niceness and, the wrong perception when, in reality, that higher level of consciousness and awareness is related to our ability to perform at a higher level. If we really understood that. And it's not necessarily that other people are holding us back, it's ourselves holding ourselves back. So I definitely think that a lot of times because, when you're talking about being able to do corporate training, you show up and it's like, wait, what? We're talking about emotions and what? There's more to it because it's only a piece of the puzzle because, how you feel impacts what you think, and what you think impacts what you do. And it's a triangle and they go each way. And what you do goes back to impacting how you feel. And so to be anchored and to understand those emotions allows you to make better decisions, allows you to interact with people at a better level. And so, really helping people see the connectivity in that triangle, because I think that a lot of times people think in the business world, or sometimes in certain relationships, that you don't really bring that emotional aspect, but it's there, it's with you, it lives within you, and it dominates you. It's the largest part of your brain. It dominates you. So you have to understand it.
Okay. So, all right, let's wrap back up with some of just, are those all of the programs that you guys offer? What else can people take advantage of? What other services can people take advantage of through your company?
So pretty much it is one-to-one coaching, corporate, training, consulting. I call it consulting from that standpoint as well. And then I do speaking. I can speak again on this topic as well, but I have co-authored a book last summer talking a lot about my journey of grief. I call it living in relationship with my grief.
Yes, tell us about that before we go. You almost glossed all over that. Tell us about that, and then tell us how we can get a copy of that book.
Absolutely. So again, this journey has been like 5 years in the making, but I had the wonderful opportunity with the same publishing company that I worked my part-time job for to co-author a book with the CEO of the company, of the publishing company. And my chapter is called I Can. And I share what it was like really the last 6 months of my journey with my mom. We kind of pick up right where I'm finding out that her diagnosis is terminal, and it's on a way to the casino, one of her favorite places. She decides, like, let me just tell her in the car on the way there, because then like now we can go play some slots and have fun. But just kind of what that process was like, and my mom embedding in me that she, needed me to press on and move on and be strong, and and then how did I channel that grief into accomplishment, not for the sake of keeping myself busy, but really capitalizing on time can be limited. And since we don't know the day, nor the time, nor the hour, again, transitioning it into graduate school and getting pregnant halfway through graduate school, as my husband was turning 40 and was like, are we having another baby? And I was like, I don't know. You got a girlfriend, who's having their baby? And okay, I guess it's me then. So, I really was like, okay, so let's take that on, and feeling fulfilled in all those areas and creating space for that, but telling the story and helping, others understand that there is the I can, no matter what you're facing. It doesn't always have to be grief or have to be loss of an individual. Loss happens in so many levels. We're losing how we operated in the world today, but what are we gaining, right? We're losing some of what people can say the flexibilities or freedoms to move about, but what are we gaining? What actually will be some of the medical advances that happen as a result of this? What kind of world will we live in if we have a higher state of consciousness and awareness of how people have felt and dealt with in social injustices over the years? So I think there's a message in there, and it's with a wonderful group of women. There's 5 different stories. One, there's a woman who was PR like executive, had a mental breakdown, and she shares like what it meant to that humility that came with just acknowledging I can't do it all, and sometimes I just need to be my best self. So I loved that we had never met. We all kind of came together virtually and crafted this story that just runs together very, very well. And I have books available on my website. You can purchase them and go right through my website, and I sign them and I send them off to you. And
I
am
think that's a
super
really dynamic
grateful.
story.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so we will make sure that we post your website as well and your book in the 10 Dimensions of Wellness group. So you guys, everything that you heard Lynnette talk about tonight, the video, the book, all of that you can find back in the group as well, and on NRI Wellness website, where we will actually have an article of her up. So let's find out a little bit more after this break.
Did you know that the average person carries around 5 to 20 pounds of fecal matter in their intestines, depending on their diet? Some people are walking around feeling sluggish, constipated, unable to lose weight, skin issues, and allergies, all because of the toxins that are in their intestines. Listen, life gives us enough battles to fight. Your health shouldn't be one of those. If you change your mindset on how you actually view food, you will never have to worry about your health or weight again. I'm Ashley, owner of She Loves Wellness. I help people transition into a healthy lifestyle. I offer tips, recipe, and supplement kits to jumpstart your lifestyle change. Visit me on Facebook and IG at She Loves Wellness for your product information and samples. Don't forget, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change.
All right, so we are wrapping up our interview with Lynnette Phillips. Lynnette, tell us, first of all, how people can get in touch with you, your website, your social media sites, your email address, any way that they can contact you.
Oh, absolutely. Let's start with my website. So LynettePhillips.com. I do have two N's. There's always this debate about, is there one N or two N's in Lynnette? So LYNNETTEPHILLIPS.com. So LynettePhillips.com. You can learn a little bit more about my bio, the Fulfill My Movement. There's a contact form that will send you kind of how we can collaborate. So LynettePhillips.com, Lynnette T. Phillips on Instagram. That is my IG handle. So feel free to connect on Instagram. I am on Facebook, so Lynnette Phillips on Facebook as well. And so you can also email me directly at hello@LynettePhillips.com. That's hello@LynettePhillips.com. You can send me a direct email as well. I mean, I am pretty open to make sure that I can connect with individuals and, get back to them.
Okay, awesome. So we are wrapping everything up, and you guys know that, as always, with all of our guests, we write an article on NRI Wellness where you can find all of their contact information. So everything that she just stated will also be posted on our website. Not to mention in our Facebook group, 10 Dimensions of Wellness on Facebook, you can find all of Lynnette Phillips' information in there as well, and listen back to this podcast as well as other ones. Now, I have my patented 4 questions that we ask all of our guests. So the first question is, what's been your biggest surprise that you've had in the last few months?
Really quarantine, right? So I think just a national quarantine on that level, because we call it March 13th, right? So my anniversary is March 15th. Every year, the Ides of March, we got married. And we knew we were going to spring break, but it's like these kids ain't really never left this house since March 13th. So I think that was just kind of the biggest surprise, because my son is doing distance learning, the Florida option of that. So he's in a class with all students who are learning in their home, but they log on, they do the regular school day. But that was probably the biggest surprise, because we ended up buying a playground set for the back of the house. Like, we just had to make our home this like new sanctuary, because we use it so much. We were busy before that, registered in 2-3 sports, son playing violin, doing all kinds of stuff. So this, I think, the method to be anchored in my home, which I still see as a positive, let me keep ourselves safe, has probably been the biggest surprise to me.
Okay, and I'm with you on that. I think it's been a positive as well. We have been living in a society where we had gotten away from actually spending time in our home with our families. So let me ask you this. What do you wish you had known 10 years ago that you know now?
I think I wish I would have known my time was limited with my mom. Like, because she was dealing with it a second time, it was like that 7 years in between from when she was sick the first time and the second time. Like, we did travel more, we did do some other stuff, but we just were like, she's been healed. So we kind of reverted back to pre-illness the first time, not realizing what do we really need to capitalize on? Because if this were to come back, and it's just like, if I would have known that, I think there would have definitely been a couple of things I would have done differently.
Wow, I'm sorry about the loss of your mother. Really am. That's so sad to hear.
Sometimes
But
I'm like, I feel like she gained living in the world we living in sometimes. I'm
okay,
like, girl.
listen. All right. I can't listen. I'm not even going to dispute you on that one. Now, what inspires you or make you feel like your best self?
um, Gosh, what inspires me? I think being in my right mind, still getting up each and every day to approach it with the gift and the grace and the gratitude that I have for the life I'm given and the lives I get to lead. You know, we had a aha moment with my son, like reteaching him his math lesson yesterday. My husband kind of said, "Gosh, as a teacher, you don't know that God's that feeling, right, when their light bulb goes off." But for me, like, that was a best self, to see my husband and my son connect in that way, and my husband who's totally living his purpose as a teacher. So like, those are moments that I think really inspire me when I'm present, when I'm just not just living, but I'm living my life. So that's what inspires me to be my best self.
Awesome, awesome. Now, if you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would you say and why?
It would say, you have to love yourself so you can love others. I
I like
think
that.
that we forget that a lot of times. So we're just looking at a mirror a lot of the time. So when we are struggling to care for another person, what's going on inside us that we don't value another human life or doing other things? And it comes from, you have to love yourself. You have to place that value. And sometimes we get so lost in life that we don't necessarily see ourselves as a priority. Hence, do we give ourselves the health and wellness that we need? Do we still do the things that we love? As a parent, the worst thing I can ever do is be miserable with my kids and not do things that I enjoy doing. That's not serving them well. Why not take them on the
No.
journey and share with them why I enjoy doing the things that I do? My son loves to cook because I love to cook. And so we have a great time in the kitchen. He loves to go fishing with his father because he and his father love to do that. We love to go run around the backyard with the little one because she just likes to get that energy out. And so it would never serve me well to not love myself.
See, now that's a lesson we all can actually learn, and we actually all need to sort of take in and absorb, is loving ourselves a little bit more. We do a thing called Self-Care Saturday, and that's just where we actually love on ourselves to show ourselves, the same amount of energy that you put into taking care of others or serving others, because that's what we all are. Everyone that I have on my show as a guest is someone who has the passion to be of service to someone else. So that's an important message. So kudos for your billboard message. We all needed that.
Yeah,
Okay.
self-care is not selfish either. So let me say
No.
that. A lot of times people hear that word and it's like, that doesn't mean I'm in a spa every, week or things like that. It could just be a 5-minute moment of clarity. It could be giving yourself the boundary to
And
say, to an older child, like, hey, I'm going to take a couple minutes in the
yeah,
room, whether it's in prayer, it's in meditation, or I'm going to take a longer bath or
I
whatever.
was going to say, even if it's just to take a shower or take a bath, give yourself that moment. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like, I literally posted on Facebook in our group, a bath and a pedicure, like a at-home herbal and rose pedicure for women, just to sit and take 5 minutes to love on yourself, soak your feet for a little bit, get all that tension out, and just have that moment of self-care. And you're absolutely right. Self-care is not selfish at all. I taught that lesson today to an older group of women who are of that mind. Like back in the day, they come in and they think if they take care of themselves that they're being selfish. selfish. But no, I actually had to teach them that in order for you to give, in order for you to be of service to other people, you actually have to love on yourself, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's something we all learn.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just realized I had forgot one other social. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably where I'm the most active. Funny enough that I would almost forget that one. But yeah, I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, so we'll make sure we post your LinkedIn, since you say that's where you're most active. All right, you guys, I want to thank Lynnette for being on our show tonight. This is going to be another dynamic episode of the 10 Dimensions of Wellness. You can listen to our broadcast on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, and a plethora of other platforms. But as always, you can also hear it on our YouTube page at NRI Wellness. And leave a comment, leave a message, subscribe, download, share, all of those things. Thank you. Join our Facebook group, 10 Dimensions of Wellness, as well. It is not just a podcast. Most of our guests also teach classes for about a month or so in our group. So join over there, talk to them one-on-one, sign up for any of their programs and services. Thank you again for listening to the 10 Dimensions of Wellness, and have a great night.
NRI Wellness brings you the latest health and nutrition information, creates customized nutrition programs, and walks you through the process to ensure your success.